You're listening to the Shadûf podcast, where we try to bring some business research, actual research with actual data relating to business, sales, marketing, leadership, all sorts of things that are interesting. We bring to the table, we do some of our own research, and we look for and find the most valuable research that's already been done that has potential application that will benefit you, or hopefully that you just find interesting. Yes, there's also that. You can sound smart by listening to us. Anyways, I'm your host, Weston Smith, here with Head of Research, Dustin Harding, and Rachel Hansen, our Digital Marketing Coordinator Extraordinaire. And we have some sad news. Rachel, do you want to start us off with our terrible, terrible news?
Yes, terrible news. I am leaving UVU and the Shadûf podcast. I got a new job. Should I say where?
Yeah, say where.
Say where.
Okay.
Our future sponsor.
I'm going to Crumble Cookies.
Crumble Cookies.
Yes.
For those of you who don't know, cookies are a big, big deal here in Utah County, where we operate from.
Sweets are a big deal.
Sweet things.
Well, cookies have been awesome because they've replaced, because we've always had these snack food trends here in Utah County, right? We went through the frozen yogurt stage, we've done the smoothie stuff, we've gone through cupcake phase, and can I tell you guys, I hated the cupcake phase.
Oh, I'm thinking of the big place in my head right now. I don't know
The
if
big
I
place.
can say it.
You can say it.
Sweet Tooth.
Sweet Tooth Fairy.
They were the big cupcake place.
Yeah, they were the big cupcake place. And then you had, what was it? Cupcake, I can't remember any of them. I'm glad it's done. I'm glad they're gone.
We had our bunt cakes for a while, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was before cupcakes, I think.
That's right. It was
I
like,
think it was bunt cakes first.
was that short-lived? I think that was
I
short-lived.
think it was pretty short-lived.
And some are lasting. Some still hang around.
Hopefully
Right?
cookies are.
Well, cookies are tried and true. I feel like we've gone through some weird stuff, and now we're back. Now we're back to the classic, right?
Yep.
So cookies are great, and they're way easier to eat than a stupid cupcake. Why with a stupid cupcake that's piled 7 inches tall with frosting and other decorations on it?
That you don't eat.
Yeah, you don't eat, or you have to eat awkwardly, or this is so annoying. I can't go and get a cupcake and then walk around eating that cupcake because I'm just gonna have frosting all over my face.
Or share a cupcake. That's it.
Oh,
I just
Yeah.
And we were talking about this before.
Yeah.
I always
You slice it
I
up.
always bashed my dad about this because it was one of these cupcake places, and he's like, "Hey, can I try yours?" I'm like, "Sure." And he's like, it's like half of my cupcake in one bite.
Your lips all your impression on the whole. To take a bite, you have to decimate
You
the
have to
cupcake.
decimate it. You got to go over the icing and completely decimate the
You
cupcake.
gotta dislocate your jaw if you want the appropriate proportional frosting to cake ratio that they provide in the stack.
And that's worse. Weston was talking about sharing with his kids. I feel like sharing a cupcake with a child is worse. They got slobber. And,
Oh yeah.
They're just.
We're not boa constrictors.
So if you don't want
cupcake.
and so if you don't want slobber all over a bite, then you have to cut it, and man, cutting it's annoying itself.
It's top heavy.
So I was saying with cookies, we always get the cookies are always pretty big in these, this cookie trend of snack food places here in Utah County. And I always cut out little wedges of my kids so I can taste their cookies. And I always tell them I'm making Pac-Man out of their cookies. I'm like, I gotta Pac-Man your cookie before you can eat it. And so then I get some of it.
And we don't eat it in the car. That's
exactly.
That's a good move too.
Yeah, because we have to wait till we get home to eat it.
Yep.
It's kind of like dad tax, dad tax.
Yeah.
But instead, this one's kind of gets them excited because they're like, Pac-Man, cool,
Do they even know Pac-Man though?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Well, I make them play it.
Okay.
If they want dinner, they have to beat 30 levels of Pac-Man. So
I love it when we come
Just-
to their teeth. That's awesome.
No, but they know the classics.
Okay, good. Good culture.
I ensure it. Well, that's sad news, but sounds fun and exciting.
Thanks, I'm excited.
That's awesome. That's really great. We're going to move on to we have a smattering of studies, if I'm not mistaken. But revolving around one topic. Mm-hmm. And this is going to be really exciting. This is relevant to this day and age. So I'm going to hand it over to Dustin to tell us what it is.
So we're going to talk a little bit about perceived ownership. Okay. How, because ownership, this perception of ownership is more complex than you might think. We sometimes, of course, I say of course, but it's complex in the fact that you may not have like perceived ownership over something that you actually do own. You may have perceived ownership for something that you don't own. Even sellers at times have this idea of perceived ownership, right? And so there's been all kinds of research that is looked at what this perceived ownership, how it makes you value these items.
Okay.
And some of the things that may impact some different situations and things that might impact whether or not you perceive an ownership over a certain object or item.
Okay. So this perceived ownership can have an effect on our day-to-day lives and the decisions we make around these items.
Yeah, and whether these items are actually owned or not. It's kind of all around us.
So what's an example? Let's start with perceived ownership of something that you own but don't think you do.
I don't know if that's like the...
Maybe that's the wrong thing to ask.
I'm just thinking of how to answer that without skipping ahead in some of the research.
Okay.
So let's start first with...
Let's just pull the reins here a little bit, Weston.
Whoa,
boy.
But I was...
Well, let's give it what's an example then of... Is there like an example without spoiling the study?
I mean, and all kinds of examples. Like if there's something that you... a product or something that you see, that you use, or that you imagine yourself using, that can create this perceived ownership.
Okay.
And once that's created, you don't want to lose that object. So you're willing to sacrifice more or spend more to obtain it once you've kind of latched onto this idea of ownership.
Okay, so tell me this. So tell me if this applies to it, because I'm just trying to come up with examples without knowing exactly how this is affected. We operate at a university, and here at UVU, and we're in a nice new building with some new study rooms, and they've made lots of smaller study rooms in this building. Is there a perceived ownership of a group of students who has a regular room that they always use? Is this the type of perceived ownership? Because they don't own it, but they might think that they do.
Yeah, totally. And I think so if there's a seat that you have in your class,
seat at the table or a seat in the classroom,
and you walk in and somebody else is sitting here, that's my spot.
Excuse me.
Right? Excuse me. That's my own spot. Right?
I don't know if you know this. I don't know if you know who I am, but I usually sit here.
Oh, that was the worst in college. My husband, he's in a cohort right now, 50 students. They don't change classrooms any day. They stay in the same classroom and their teacher comes to them. And he said they all have their own spot. And one day, it's been like a whole semester, some girl sat in his spot and he was like, I didn't know what to do. Like, he's a grown man, but someone sat in his spot. He's like, I had to go sit over there. I couldn't sit by Mike. It was funny because he perceived his ownership. That was his spot for a whole semester. He wasn't going to move.
And have you noticed, this doesn't necessarily have to do with this, but have you noticed that in those cases, it's like a completely different experience going through the class or something from a different perspective, and you're just like, ugh. And it's kind of hard.
Distracting.
It's
distracting.
I used to be a dancer, and at the bar in ballet, everybody had their spot. And it was just where we felt comfortable and we liked it because of this or that. And a couple of times our teachers would make us move spots because she said it helped us pay more attention because we weren't so comfortable to our environment where we were standing. So she made us move around the room.
Interesting.
And we hated it because we couldn't stand by our friend or in a spot where the mirror wasn't wonky. But it does make you, I feel like it made me more alert because I'm like, this is new and different.
Yeah. Interesting.
So that's like a simple example. If you have an office in the building, right?
Right.
You say that's my office when really it's not your office.
It's not your office, but there is policy that's allocated that space to you, right?
But it's not.
But it's
you
still
don't
not
own
yours,
it.
right?
You don't own it. What was the other example? Another case where this might happen is if you're out test driving cars. There's certain things that we'll talk about, especially like touch. That if you're able to touch a product, it enhances this idea of perceived ownership. So as you're test driving a car or something, you're going to feel this ownership attachment to it, and it's going to be harder to let it go.
That's why my husband makes me hold his hand when we walk through Target.
Oh, there you go.
Don't. Come on. Don't touch it. He does.
He's like, you can't.
Don't touch
You
it by
can't do
all
that.
the things, especially at Target. Yeah.
That's funny. But no, I can see that, and then that way, because they kind of want you to do that with products, so then you do feel like you don't like the idea of someone else having that product, kind of like this, your husband's chair in this classroom. It's like, you kind of want to revert back to a child and throw a tantrum if you don't get your spot, or if you don't, you don't have that thing, right?
Yeah. And we can actually start with some of this research. It's called the effect of mere touch on perceived ownership.
Cool.
Okay, so this was published in 2009 in the Journal of Consumer Research, but yeah, they show that just touching an item has this real powerful effect on this perceived ownership. They even compare and contrast it in one of their studies. They have some participants actually think through and imagine what it would be like owning this product, where you would put it, when you would use it. So a really powerful kind of manipulation on trying to get them really to attach this perceived ownership. And they showed really when let's see. Actually look at this, the way that when you touch the product, this imagining that you're owning the product really didn't have any effect because touch already did something. Just touching it already put you through that simulation.
Interesting.
And so adding that on top of that, this mental simulation of owning it didn't do much at all.
Wow.
And so yeah.
You can see what they were trying to do, which does have an effect, but the touching already took care of that. That's
exactly
crazy.
And that's way easier think of door-to-door salesmen. They're like, oh, hey, I'm selling this book or this carpet cleaner, and they want you to touch it.
What's the natural thing? Like when someone hands you something, you take it, right?
You're walking through the mall, and there's a little kiosk.
Right.
Like, hey, you want to try this lotion or whatever it is? Yeah. Like once you touch it, this paper shows it increases positive emotions, but also this perceived ownership, and that's what kind of drives your desire for the product.
Tell me if this has affected how. I don't know if you guys have ever experienced this. If you're ever buying something that you go up to a counter and they have or you're through the store and they have a display, something that you can handle and pick up and handle, and then you say, okay, yes, I want this, and they go to the back and get a different one. Have you guys ever felt kind of like this, oh, yeah, I guess that makes sense. I kind of liked this one.
Yeah.
But they want to give you a new one, and you're like, but then I think your reasoning kind of takes over, and you're like, oh no, I probably would rather have a new one than one that's been handled by so many people, and
yeah.
But there is, I think that perceived ownership, there is that hesitation.
Like at Costco.
Yeah.
Do that at Costco. Yeah, with Or like even phones, you know, at the phone
Yeah.
store, obviously you don't buy the one that's there.
It's
but
there. It's a display one,
you
right?
Go get one.
Or going back to a car, especially if
Mhm.
you're test driving, you're feeling it, like you're kind of driving and going through this crazy experience. I think
Right.
if there was a newish test car that car that that a dealership was selling, that maybe this car had just been test driven a few miles,
Uh-huh.
right? But then you had the choice between that and like a brand new one.
You'd probably go
That'd
with
be
the one that
difficult.
you drove because you've been through something with it.
That's the one you
You
wanted.
know how it is. Yeah. Interesting.
That is crazy. That's funny.
So one of the things that they kind of show from this that has been kind of long standing is that once you've attached this perceived ownership to an object, it creates this fear of losing it.
Mm-hmm.
We really once we feel like we own it, we don't want to lose it. We value it more, and
Right.
so it's more difficult to get it away from us, right? And so this kind of started with some research. They call it the endowment effect.
Okay.
And it's this loss aversion idea where, like Rachel, if I handed you a pencil and I said, Rachel, how much would you spend? How much would you pay to obtain this pencil? How much do you think it's worth? You'd give your little estimate, you know, like
Mhm.
maybe it's $1 or
50
50 cents, whatever.
Yeah.
But if I instead brought it over to you and said, Rachel, this is your pencil. How much are you willing to sell it for? Now that it's your pencil, you don't want to lose that pencil, and so what you're willing to sell it for is going to be a lot more than what you'd be willing to buy it for.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
So you see this on like if you're on Facebook Marketplace or something, like people
Totally.
way overvalue their products, right?
Yeah, and you want to offer them a reasonable amount of money, but they think that you're being rude.
Yeah.
Right?
Because it's theirs. Yeah.
Because it's
that
theirs.
ownership.
So this kind of this thing.
I was gonna say-
affects, right? Oh, sorry.
I was gonna say, this is probably a little bit extreme in hoarders. That's what they're going. They get something, it's theirs. They do not want to get rid of it, right?
So they're like the extreme case. Then
And
for
people are like, sell it. Why don't you sell some of this stuff? You can make some money. And they're like,
Because to
no.
them it means nothing. The person who's trying to force them to sell it, it's just a thing and it's not theirs.
Yeah,
And then if they sold it, they would probably want to sell it for more than what anyone else would want to buy it for.
right.
Yeah.
So this was leading to, and Weston mentioned this, a lot of these things lead to some current, what would you say? Some of the current events of the day.
Right.
Some upcoming things
Currently
that are,
relevant.
that are popping up. So, and specifically, I'll just kind of quote this part in this paper. It says, high levels of perceived ownership may be the result of legal ownership, but can also be affected by time, touch, and imagery. In contrast, objects that are frequently traded, like stocks or money, may be legally owned and yet low in perceived ownership, resulting in the ability to forfeit them without feeling the loss.
Okay.
So the importance of feeling ownership and effective reaction measures in valuation is consistent with, but also significantly affects recent endowment. Okay, sorry, you can skip that last part. So it's saying that there could be, as we mentioned before, there may be some things that you feel attached to that you don't own, but other things, especially things that we don't touch, that we don't really have this physical relationship with, that we do own, we may feel like we don't own them as much because of that lack of connection, and so the feeling of loss isn't there.
I feel like that way with Venmo money. Like
Yes.
my Venmo balance. Like, oh yeah, I'll Venmo you 10, 20 bucks for this and that and whatever. But if you ask me to hand you cash or even swipe my card, it's a little like, whoa.
Oh,
Think about it more.
yes. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that would be, you do own this outright and it has a specific value, but yet you can so freely get rid of it.
Yeah, it comes and goes and I don't see it, I don't touch it, it's just words on the screen.
Right.
It's my money, but it doesn't feel like it.
Oh man, which is, yeah, that's interesting, and that's where that's why we have this explosion. First of all, cash trading apps, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And then also I'm thinking like, oh my gosh, this is happening with, we have NFTs, we have
Crypto.
how much, like every company is going subscription based, because that's like, don't think about it.
Oh, yeah.
Think about it. Just let it go, and you're not. So you're not thinking, I have to pay this bill every month. You're just like setting up automated payments to then, you're buying it little by little. You may not use it, but you're always paying for it,
And you get it with like credit cards as well,
right?
where you just don't, you're not actually touching the money. You're touching the credit card, but you don't lose the credit card. It kind of stays with you. And then we have there's now just recently, I mean, Biden did an executive order for and they're doing more research because of all this digital currency that's going on. The executive order is really trying to push more research in, and really soon that would try to move into a national digital currency.
National digital currency.
Yeah. So the idea with this, like, if that were the case, if we just were all digital, we don't really have this feeling of this loss aversion,
right,
with this digital currency, and so it's people are just going to be more frivolous with that spending. They actually did. This is a recent article that looked at that. Is cash perceived as more valuable than digital money?
Mm-hmm.
And they find that yes, people believe have this feeling that cash has more purchasing power, and therefore it's kind of what we were saying here. But this idea that no, I can feel it, I can see it, I own it. This is more valuable, and so they're less willing to let it go.
Yeah.
Than digital.
I mean, you guys have kids, but kids love their money, and the more coins they have, the better. Like, it doesn't make sense that a quarter is less than a paper dollar because they like the heaviness and it's real money.
Right.
And I think some of that never goes away as adults. I hardly ever carry cash, but like just the feeling of, oh, this is real.
That's funny.
Real money. It's funny to watch kids have $1 quarters and a paper dollar, and the paper's better because it's paper. But I think some of that like authenticity and realness never goes away, just like that study said.
We did this. We did with my kids when they were younger. Had like a system where we printed up little fake bills, and we called them frubles. Just came up with a weird word. And they could earn, so it was like a reward system. They could earn frubles, and then they could buy some toys or candy or whatever. And anyways, it was fun. First of all, it was like I said, a reward system, but then it was also like, hey, you can also learn how to manage your money and save up and keep track of your money, that type of thing. But so kind of what we're talking about is what scares me about this potential idea of digital currency. If it's all digital, everything's run digitally, then yeah, you just have this like kind of this external trade just happening in the background. A lot of it being managed by you. I mean, I'm sure you can take an active role in managing your own finances, but you have to do the work to make that to gain that perception, right? And then I think the same effect kind of happens as a nation as well, because a dollar bill, like you were saying, Rachel, it has value, but I mean, it just has, it's just paper, but it represents actual value of, of the market, right?
Right.
Of the trade. And so if you have digital currency, it can kind of be exploited, and you don't have a physical representation at all. And then it's just like, oh, then we never know, like, oh, there wouldn't be any like barrier for printing more money, because it's just all, just create more digital money.
I'll add another zero. Yeah.
Just
that's weird to think about. Yeah.
Too many dangers, too many irresponsible actions.
Yeah, and I feel like we're already trending that way because I hardly ever carry cash. You don't need to.
COVID kind of did that.
Yeah, and you can buy
cash really.
You can even use Venmo and Apple Pay at the 90s, like regular places. So I think it is trending that way, and it does feel it's much easier to swipe a card or tap or send whatever than count out your coins and hand over cash.
Yeah, it's interesting because so if you're ever trying to get out of debt or something like that, Dave Ramsey is a huge advocate and trains people on how to do that, right?
Right.
But one of his big suggestions that he always gives is to get rid of digital, get rid of cards, use cash, and put cash into envelopes and have a system there, because there's that pain with using cash as you see it go.
I've done that on vacation before. We'll say, okay, we're taking this much money and this is what we're spending on our vacation, and it really does be like, oh, okay, yep, I want to buy this, or we want to play this, instead of like, oh yeah, we'll just swipe, and then we get home and it's like, oh my gosh, how much money did we spend?
What did we spend?
And
that's
it's like
funny. That's a great idea.
You see the money come out. Okay, we get $300 for this trip, and then it's not like all these little expenses. It's just that was our trip money. It's helpful.
Vacations is especially because vacations, you just go on like a spending spree. So that's a really smart idea for
Until
vacations.
you get to the one place, they're like, oh, we don't accept cash. You're like, okay.
Darn it, I'm going to have to
With my plan.
spend anything I want to.
Yeah.
No, but it's vacations, because then because you're adding this perception of, look, this is a special occasion.
Yes.
It's a one-time thing.
Yes.
Right?
When you already spent money to drive or fly there and to stay there, and food is a big one on vacations too. So yeah.
Right.
So I think that for this, like we're losing cash, right? That's probably, it's already kind of gone. We're not really using it day to day, but especially
this is just the next step, right?
Yeah.
So,
but especially if a lot of these things go through, it looks like that it looks like we may have like a national like digital currency coming up there, but when that happens, it's just important that we as consumers are mindful. Are mindful of, okay, how is this going to impact me psychologically, especially when we see a physical product that we want, that there's going to be that ownership there, especially in contrast to some digital monetary thing that we have no ownership attachment to.
Right.
It's just going to it's going to increase our desire to spend, which we need to watch.
Totally.
Of course, there's business aspects to this, but they're a little bit more on the slimy level. Like if you want people to spend more, don't accept cash, and then they will they'll be more frivolous with their spending, right? But,
I wonder if there's, because here's the thing, and we've kind of broached this topic before, where we've kind of said, like there's a kind of a gray line between manipulation and something, but it's like if you're a business and you have a product that you think benefits people and you want to get it into their hands, for example, like, okay, are you manipulating them to feel that sort of ownership type of thing? I guess maybe a little bit, but what if you're like, no, I want you to experience this, I want you to handle it, this can convince you to buy it more. I think there's a level of acceptable, like, like, yeah, call it manipulation if you want, but it's not like, I don't think it's nefarious in
Right.
nature.
It's also
right?
selling and marketing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just what we do. Anytime you talk to someone to try and convince them of something, you know, even if it's a good thing, there can be, you know, like getting my kids excited about giving me a piece of their cookie by calling it a Pac-Man. You know? Maybe more on the manipulative side, but you know.
And there's always a line there, right? As marketers or if we're in sales, like there's that line, and is it ethical or not, right? And
right.
But so you just have to figure that out on your own. Like, you know, for me, saying, oh, hey, let's not accept cash because then they might spend more. That might be crossing the line.
Right.
But having them feel the product, having them experience the product, that's, yes, they're going to have a higher perception of ownership through that process, but it's also important for the customer to understand that, and it enhances their experience.
Right. Yeah, and with cash, like, I mean, maybe there's other reasons too that you don't accept cash. Maybe there's certain.
Oh yeah.
Well, I know working in retail, it's like, if you have to be the person who takes the envelope to the bank and deposit it off every time, you know, it's like this physical transaction. It's kind of annoying.
Yeah.
It's more convenient, right? But yeah, but then there's also that's what it's good, because we also have to talk about the drawbacks. You know, we always have to talk about, like, yeah, there's potential, and then there's also security risk potential. You know, like
right, and vice versa too with cards. Right. Like they have some of them upcharge for whatever percent of the purchase because of the credit card.
Yeah,
whatever. Yeah, there has
transaction
to be
fees.
Yes, yep, those, and
that's right.
Yeah, you have to have a lot more like hardware to do cards.
Right.
I mean, anymore it's
you have to have hardware, and then you also have to have the security protocols in place to like what information is coming across through your system, through your line, through your internet, whatever. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
There was one. Yeah, so I think application-wise, I do think that I like what we were saying with the physical touching thing, like that. I think that's a good thing, and I think that's a good business tip to say, like, hey, you know what? Get your product in people's hands.
Yeah.
You know, let them experience it. Don't just tell them, don't just talk at them and say how great it is.
I wonder how this can work for the service industry. Like, I have a brother-in-law who sells pest control. Do you think they could use more of the, like, imagine yourself in this scenario? Because they can't say, hold this bug spray. Like, it doesn't work like that. But maybe, like, imagine your house in July with no spiders or some scenario like that. I wonder if
that's interesting. It's Nikki actually was just talking about some of this research where what you want to do is in order to provide customers the opportunity to kind of imagine themselves using the product you just don't want to put barriers out there that would prevent them from doing that. And it turns out that with some recent research shows that one of those barriers would be putting a model in there. When you have a model using the product, it makes it more difficult for consumers to see themselves using that.
Because they're seeing the product
with someone else
as being owned by that person that they're also seeing in there. Whereas if they see it out of context and they're like, that could be mine.
Yeah.
That's interesting because that's what commercials are. Like, we watch commercials all the time, and I mean they sell, but there's no other way to do it. Cool.
By the way,
it's cool.
By the way, Nikki is a research assistant here
Yes.
at Shadûf, and she's awesome, and she's the one who found some of this research, right?
Yeah.
And then that research you were also talking about, it's also really cool too.
Yeah, and I think if you can, for instance, have a video or something of this product being used that's maybe from your the point of view of the user.
Right.
So the user's face isn't in there or anything, but they're using the product, they're experiencing the product, and from that point of view, it should really easily make it. It should ease the what's the word for it? It should make it easier for the consumer to latch on and to think about themselves using it.
Interesting.
So,
Have you guys seen those VR VR sets where it's like put this on and walk through
VR
a
would be
model
awesome.
home or something? Like
Walk
that's a
through a model home.
good example of I can see myself living here because I'm standing in this home, even though it's not real, but
Yeah.
like you can you're there and it could be your house. So that's cool to think that.
I wonder if you can create tactile experiences with VR. Like, for example, if you're walking through, and not just like physical senses, because you could do smells and stuff like the California ride, California Adventure ride, you know. But like with VR and with selling like a model home, for example, like what if you walk past this beautiful sunroom and they blow a little bit of heat on you on outside, and then you're like feeling like, oh, the sunlight is warming me up, you know, that kind of
The kitchen with fresh baked cookies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe they have like something that you can like touch like the wood grain or something, but then they also have like that actual tactile experience like for you to experience. I don't know.
Yeah.
Wonder if there's applications there. That'd be interesting to figure out.
That would be sweet. But there's even little things like there's even research that shows that say you're trying to sell some soup on an ad, if the
I'm
spoon,
always trying to do that.
yeah, I mean we're always trying, but if the spoon is on the right side rather than on the left side, right-handers are going to, which is the majority of people,
Right.
Right-handers are, if you're right-handed, you're going to more easily go through the process of consuming that soup. And so, because you can more easily say, oh yeah, I would grab that with my right hand.
Put yourself in that place.
That's
And put myself in that place.
That's
cool.
why they can't sell me on it, because I'm one of those weird left-handers.
Weird left
And I'm like picturing myself eating Zupa's tomato basil soup right here.
It's making your mouth
Yeah.
kind of water a little bit, right?
Can I give you a little Zupa tip?
Yeah.
I always get the tomato basil and mix it with the cauliflower.
I've heard people do that.
It's so good.
Okay, I'll try it. I don't love cauliflower, but
Yeah, but mixed, it's really good.
Okay, I'll try it.
I dare you.
Triple dog dare.
That's right.
Okay.
Triple dog dare.
Triple dog dare. Well, that is awesome stuff. Was there any other research, or were those all of them?
Well, there's tons and tons.
I mean,
but
there's
those
lots
are
of
the
research.
research that we were thinking about.
Tell us all
That's
of
all
them.
the
Is there
research
anything
on
else you wanted to
ownership
say?
Ever.
Let's make you to work.
It's the only research that's
No,
ever
yeah,
come out
I
about
think
this.
that's so. It's just this having this understanding of ownership
Mhm.
can help us as marketers or sellers, but it can also help us as consumers.
Right.
So it's this understanding that hey, there is this power in physical contact for one, right?
Right.
And to be aware of that.
Right.
When we're selling, we want customers to be aware of that. As consumers, we want to be aware of that and make sure that hey, just because I'm touching it, I gotta kind of disassociate myself from this. I know that I'm going to want to own it more if I touch it.
Right.
But I still need to experience it, and I just be aware that that's something that exists. And then on the flip side, if I'm not touching it, like digital currency, I need to be aware that I'm not going to care about this as much. But that doesn't mean I shouldn't care about it. I should still care about it and still be careful with it.
Absolutely. I love this topic because there are so many, there's a few tips that we can come up with off the cuff, but it's also something that business owners, companies, they could take this research and they could come up with way cool creative ways to apply it, right? I mean, there's so many possibilities that it's not just like a, hey, do this, it'll help. It's a, man, how can we take what we know innately about the human mind and put it to practice, put it to use, right?
Transform it for products or services or whatever you're selling and marketing.
Yeah, if they can't handle it, physically, because most people are selling online, try and simulate the experience for them or something.
Mm-hmm.
Just there's so many cool things you could do with this,
Yeah.
and it's a lot of fun and very interesting. But I think that's it for today. So thank you for joining us on the Shadûf podcast, and catch us next time.